All right, what's up, YouTube? We got this new mower here, well, new to us, and we had some issues with it only running on full choke. So we think it might be the carburetor. It's been sitting around for a little bit, so couldn't find anything on the interwebs. We're gonna try and show you how to take the old one out and put the new one in. All right, so the tools you're gonna need in order to take everything off, you're gonna need a 7/16 socket and a 3/8 socket, as well as a 7/16 wrench. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the 3/8 socket and we're going to do these two bolts right here. That just releases that whole assembly. And then after that, we'll use the 7/16 on this bolt and this bolt to take this connected to this all off. Ready? All right, so the next step is to go ahead and disconnect the fuel line from the inlet on the carburetor. Just grab a pair of pliers or squeeze really hard on that fastener on the end of the hose. The fuel is going to come out. What we found to do is just put it above the level of the fuel tank, and we're just using a small bungee cord and bungeeing it back to either the steering wheel or the gear selector. All right, so now that that's done, you can see that it's pretty much about to fall off. So we're going to take the carburetor assembly and what we think is the output hose off of the motor.
Oh, one thing.
Oh, and don't forget, there's a little electrical connection down here. Go ahead and disconnect that, and then it should come free. Oh, and then there's a couple of other pieces in the back, and it's the connecting rods. We found that sometimes it's just kind of jiggling it back and forth to get those off. All right, so just to give you a view of the back, you can see that connection right there with that rubber hose that needs to come off. There's I guess you can call it somewhat of a control rod. We just pull it out of that little slit right there, and then that way we can disconnect that part. And then with the rod that's in the front of the carburetor, or on the left side of it when you're looking at it, there's a small spring wire that goes in. You'll need to take that out, and then the other rod will need to come out of that. And there will be a little bit of fuel that may leak out. And then it's just a matter of trying to maneuver the carburetor assembly to get the rod out. And there we have it. So we've got the carburetor assembly off. One thing you might find, depending on how long your machine has been sitting, is the nuts and the bolts may be a little tight. We just used some PB Blaster last week when we were taking off the old one to get everything loose. And then what you want to do when you take the carburetor assembly off is you want to take these golden rods or yellow rods, and all you do is just thread them out. And if they happen to be tight, there is what looks like a nut on there. Just have to have a deep socket. I'm not sure what size though. Ours was able to come off. Ours was able to come off by hand. Just pull those rods out, and now you have your old carburetor. All right, so our kit didn't come with what looks like a gasket on the one side, so we're just being really careful to peel off the one on the old one. to try and reuse it. And it looks like we were able to take it off successfully. And there's our old carburetor. Alright, we just wanted to give you a comparison on what the old one looks like and then the new one. Obviously our old one is a little bit dirty, but you can see that it's pretty much identical. One thing that you'll notice is on the manufacturer carburetor, or we think is the manufacturer carburetor, they've just included a plastic piece on this adjustment right here, and then the one that we got off of Amazon just looks like a little knurled screw top. It looks like that we've got some white foam on these two pieces that rotate. The kit didn't come with any instructions. We're just assuming that we need to leave those on because there's no way to take them off. And then you can see on the old one, we don't have those. So the other difference too is the one that we got off Amazon, it has a writing will turn to the fuel line, which may be better, whereas the original one does not. And then moving around to what we're calling the back side, obviously very similar. And then moving around to the back side closest to the engine, very similar as well. So now we're going to go ahead and start hooking everything up, hooking the new carburetor onto the engine. Alright, so after you've installed that gasket, what you're going to want to do is you're going to take that the black plastic hose that came off of it, and then the way that you line it up is you can obviously put it right up next to the engine, but you're going to want to have the hole on this side obviously facing in. And then what we'll do is we'll take these two yellow rods that we took out earlier, and you're going to want to insert this end right here like that and like that, and then just screw them on in, and that's what connects the two pieces together. So not sure how tight these need to be. When we took ours off, they were we were able to take them off by hand. I'd imagine since that gasket's on there, you'll want to have them fairly tight. Unfortunately, we don't have a deep socket wrench or anything, so we're just going to do our best to tighten them down by hand as best we can. All right, so we've got those two pieces together. What we're going to want to do next is we're going to try and connect this rod right here, which if you want to follow it, it goes all the way back to this piece. This is the spring wire that goes all the way up. Depending on how you want to do it, you can either do this piece right here first or the little spring wire. We'll see kind of which one works best for us. And then on the actual carburetor, you'll see two holes. The one with the white ring around it is where this piece will go, and then this little small hole right here is where what we're calling the spring wire will go. And just like when we took it out, just trying to figure out what's best, the best orientation to put that in there. Might just take a little bit of trial and error. Okay, so we did a little bit of deliberation, and what we ended up doing was we took the plastic piece off that goes from here to there. Yeah, we took that piece off, made it a little bit easier to put that piece on. So like we were saying before, you've got this rod that goes into the hole with the white plastic O-ring, or whatever you want to call it, and then there's behind that there's a little spring wire that goes into the hole right next to it. All right. Okay, so that piece is in. And there we go. All right, so now we got that connected. What we can do is you can try to put this next piece in, and that's the piece that the end of it threads through that part right there. So there's the gas tank, so it's kind of the back left of the motor. So we'll go ahead and put that piece on. When we took ours off, it was on the hole that was closest to the gas tank. Yep, so that one right there. So if you're looking at it on video, it'll be the right hole to the right. So just put that in there, and then what that piece does is it actually slides over that black tubing. And goes right there. And this is the piece that pushes it forward. All right, so we got our carburetor connected on that side, and then now we're gonna attempt to put the gasket back on and the other plastic piece. So if you think that you can do it with the plastic piece on, go for it. We're just showing this way just to show another method. So we've connected the rods in the back. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to insert the yellow bolts through the carburetor. So remember, these bolts are the ones that hold the carburetor and this plastic piece right here together. So we'll put those in. Okay, and then those on this side of the bolts will go in those two holes. So then we'll put our gasket on. And then we'll put the plastic piece on. So this method, we connected the rods that are coming from right here first to the carburetor, and then connected the two pieces together. You can elect to put the plastic piece and the carburetor together, and then put the rods, whatever's easier for you. So go ahead and we'll do those hand tight, and then we found 5/16 deep socket that we're going to go ahead and snug those down. We just don't want to do it too tight, just because of the gasket. We don't want to compress the gasket too much, but we want it to be a good snug fit. All right, so we've got those pieces together. What we're going to do is we're going to insert the end of the two rods into that piece. We're going to take our two nuts, excuse me, and then thread those on.
Before we tighten those down, let's do these here.
Yep, and then we'll take our final two bolts and we'll put it on the plastic piece on the end. We'll snug up those first, just to make sure that everything stays in alignment. And those were the smaller of the two 3/8, I believe. We're using an impact drill just because that's what I grabbed, but obviously a drill will work fine, or a socket wrench if you don't have a drill. Just go ahead and get those snug. Don't want to go super tight and compress the plastic. And then we'll switch out sockets. And then we'll snug up our 2 nuts right there. All right, so just want to double check and make sure that this hose right here hasn't come off at all. When we got ours, it didn't have any sort of fastener, so it looks like it's just a friction fit. And we'll want to check our rods, make sure that nothing came off. It looks like everything's good. And then we'll make our electrical connection on the bottom. Make sure it's seated well. And then we'll take our fuel line. Just be careful when you do that. There's still going to be fuel in the line. We found that with ours, if you just have someone pinch on the other side of the fuel filter, it'll help in preventing some of the fuel to come out. And then, like I said, with our new one, it came with a nice right angle turn, so it was a little bit easier to connect this time around, and it's good to go. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. We're by no means experts. We tried to do as much interweb searching as we could. Couldn't find anything on YouTube that specifically talked about that mower and that motor. If I didn't already mention it, it's a Troy Bilt Pony 42T lawn tractor, and it's a 17.5 horsepower Briggs & Stratton mower. One of the original problems that we were having, it was turning on and what we think is running on full choke. Talking to some folks, since the mower had been sitting for a while, they said probably best to replace the carburetor. So we're going to do that and see if that fixes our issue. If it doesn't fix our issue, we might have to do some more research, and then if we figure out what the solution is, we'll try and make another video and post it. Take care.